Honestly, some of the some of the we were talking about the architecture, but some of the architecture in Gotham is just like
This cathedral's
this cathedral's about
the size of like the Empire State
Yeah.
Building. Yet they climb.
they fucking walk it up it.
Stairs.
Honestly, it's ridiculously large, isn't it? Like it's not as bad. It's not as
When they're falling later. They're falling for
for ages.
How long are they
Yeah,
falling for?
it's not as egregious as Batman and Robin. Like they even make the architecture even friggin'
Even more
larger,
ridiculous,
and it's
yeah.
just like that's just ridiculous. Well,
So, here we are again.
here we are again. Well, our last time we did one was Doctor Who, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Another episode of Doctor Who coming out soon, but this time we're talking about Batman 1989 and Batman Returns. Nice.
I've already opened mine.
Sound effects needed. Yeah, and we were doing it obviously because of the new film out now.
Is there
The Batman?
No, there's a new Batman film out.
There might be a new Batman
Goodness
film
me,
out.
you wouldn't know, would you?
The marketing has been non-existent, and it just snuck up on us.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, actually, no, it didn't really. But yeah, Robert
The
Pattinson
Batman.
as as Batman.
Yes. But is he not Batman?
I don't know. You tell me. You're the arbiter of who and who isn't a certain character.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we don't know, do we? We don't know.
Yeah, we're recording this prior to seeing
it.
and we'll be seeing it very soon. So look out for the podcast on the Batman, rather than this podcast being about Batman and Batman Returns.
Yes, my mind can be changed occasionally,
as we saw with the Spider-Man.
That's right.
No Way Home.
There's only two Spider-Man, mate. Spider-Men, mate.
There's only two Spider-Man, even though there's three inside that movie. But yeah, with the Batman.
There's only one Batman, mate.
And his name is
and he gets nuts. Let's get nuts.
If you want to get nuts, let's get nuts. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the Batman. Although I did see a post today that is like, is Batman the most overcooked superhero?
Absolutely.
With many stories involving Batman, and not really much gap in between. I mean, what since this particular slew of Batman films, starting with Michael Keaton, not to discount Adam West.
No, but I mean that was the biggest gap so far. It was between Adam West and Michael Keaton, and that it was only, well, I say only, I mean that was 25 years,
yeah,
which is quite a big gap. But since Batman 89, you're right, we've just had, there's been like sort of, but the Batman sort of like the Bond franchise of superheroes.
Oh yeah, definitely
With just a constant stream of movies and remakes. I mean, I think Batman's probably the most played superhero role.
Must be.
I mean, there's so many actors have played him now.
I mean, only behind Spider-Man, really, and Superman. Just where it's like, well, technically there's three Spider-Man made.
But I mean, like film iterations.
Yes.
I mean, there's been more Batmans than there has been Superman. I think there's been three Supermen, three Spider-Men.
Oh.
And then this is on film. I'm not including like animated series or old black and white shows.
Of course.
But with Batman, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 now.
I know. That's a real
Ridiculous,
that's a
isn't it?
real card shuffle of actors,
And that's not
ranging.
including Kevin Conroy.
Yeah, who is one of the most famous
Yeah.
Batman.
Who
Batman.
and many other actors who voiced Batman in the various animated one-off
Yep.
films.
I mean, the video game series, the Arkham series, is like again
Yeah.
cited as like one of the quintessential,
Yeah.
very close to the Vision Batman stories.
And there were two. I apologise, I haven't done my research, so I don't know their names. But there were two. There were two like old Batman actors before even Adam West. There were two actors who played Batman in some very old like black and white TV
Yeah, probably like TV serials,
specials
yeah.
or something.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like how George Reeves was Superman way back in like the 50s.
Yes, yes, yes.
It was
Similar iterations.
yeah. Anyway, yeah. But I think it's fair to say that you know, if it wasn't for these two films in particular, and if it wasn't for Tim Burton and Michael Keaton and Warner Brothers, you know, I don't think we'd be at this point where we are now.
No,
We wouldn't have, you know. I mean, they really did set the bar. I mean, not
Yeah.
only did they come in after a 25-year hiatus, or however long, or maybe 20-year hiatus. Sorry, but they've also followed, you know, a very campy 1960s TV series.
Yeah.
Where Batman was very much a joke at this point.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's not.
Excuse me.
It's not him. Yeah, I mean, not at the time, but over time, as audience, you know, wants and you know, likes just changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it became more campy. Obviously, as technology went on as well.
Yeah.
He went from wearing, you know, a lot of
people
lycra.
associated Batman as, you know, Batman and Robin, Pow, Shazam, Whack, all that stuff.
Yes.
Whereas although I do think that I say Tim Burton and Michael Keaton, but we can't deny the influence of Richard Donner and Superman.
Yes.
Because if those films hadn't been successful, we wouldn't have got any superhero films.
No.
Because before Superman came along,
Yeah.
the studios were not interested in making superhero films.
No.
So thank you to them for that. Well, I'm sure we'll do a podcast on that.
Oh yeah. We'll get to that. Yeah.
But anyway, no, I mean, you know, we do owe a lot to these films. I mean, they came along and they presented us with a new sort of darker Batman, a more serious Batman. And you know, you probably know this already, but there was apparently at the time there was a huge fan backlash about the casting of Michael Keaton.
Why?
Well, because at the time he was known as a sort of comedy actor.
Yes.
In the same way that a lot of people sort of raised their eyebrows when Bruce Willis was cast as John McClane.
Right. Yeah.
And even in more recently, a lot of people, including myself, I have to admit, when Heath Ledger was announced as the Joker, I was like, what, the blonde guy from A Knight's Tale?
Teen heartthrob Heath Ledger.
And you know, he's never going to be good.
Yeah.
But apparently there was a massive backlash about casting Michael Keaton because audiences only really knew him as Beetlejuice at that time.
Yeah.
And they thought that that he was going to be like silly and camp, like in the vein of Adam West. And apparently they wrote letters to the studio. This was before the internet, before you could troll.
Yeah, of
They
course.
actually
Yeah.
wrote physical letters of complaint.
Cool. The effort that goes into.
Yeah, 2,000 odd letters of complaint
Wow,
about Michael Keaton,
2,000?
handwritten.
Blimey, people with far too much time on their
but
hands in the late
but
80s.
They weren't happy.
No.
And, but, you know, obviously he silenced all the critics.
Pretty much
At
immediately.
the time.
Yeah.
And a lot of, you know, also I found interesting as well is a lot of stuff that Michael Keaton brought to the role that we sort of take for granted today. Like, apparently it was his idea to change his voice, to lower his register as Batman,
Of course.
which has now become a staple of
Which
playing
is
Batman.
pretty much the main prerequisite.
Exactly.
Because of the kind of the Clark Kentness
Yeah.
of well, you'd be able to tell if it's Bruce Wayne because he's got exactly the same voice.
Like George Clooney just didn't bother changing his
He
voice.
did not change his voice.
But
We'll
anyway,
get to that.
you'll get to that. I won't be participating in that. And he also, he also apparently ad-libbed, or rather, he changed the line, the iconic line at the start of the film where he says, "I'm Batman." Apparently, that was an ad-lib on his part. He was supposed to say something else.
Wow.
I don't know what he was supposed to say, but something like not that, and he just said, "I'm Batman." And that now has become a sort of staple
Yeah.
of the character.
I mean, that scene would have been like kind of poor if it hadn't just been like it's the introduction of the character,
And
but for him not to
sets it up
just
so
be
perfectly, doesn't it?
for him not to just have the confidence and the the charisma to just be like, I'm Batman,
Yeah.
just like.
And what I love about Keaton's performance is as well, his Bruce Wayne is very goofy and a bit sort of awkward.
Yes, yeah.
And the thing I really like about that is it's ironic because it sort of sums up Michael Keaton or his reputation up at that point as this sort of goofy slapstick comedy actor. And here he is portraying quite a goofy, awkward, sort of not very cool Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
Kind of geeky Bruce Wayne.
He is.
But that's why he's so damn perfect, and that's why his performance is so good, because even when he's still just Bruce Wayne, but he's not putting on an act, like when he's just sitting in the Batcave, just sort of
Lamenting.
reflecting.
Yeah.
He's completely different to the sort of goofy, awkward, Bruce Wayne that
Yeah.
and it's
You say that a goofy, billionaire who gets all the chicks. Like you say that, but he might say, oh yeah, he's a bit awkward.
Yeah,
but also,
but he doesn't. He's not like in a Christian Grey way. He doesn't seduce them. He just sort of charms them.
Yeah.
By being
normal, but a billionaire.
Yeah,
like I feel like that's.
But yeah, I just think I really enjoy his portrayal, and I really believe. I don't know. I'm not sure how to word this, but I believe that people would not suspect that his Bruce Wayne was Batman because he's not physically imposing. He's not slick or cool, and I can totally, even people sort of, even if you said no, I'm telling you, Bruce Wayne is Batman, they'd be like, no way, that guy,
literally a guy who just attends meetings.
Yeah.
Is kind of a bit weird.
Whereas other Bruce Waynes on screen, and they're quite cool and suave, and they carry themselves well. And I think that guy could
a bit closer to a bit closer to Batman than So Keaton, if it was a spectrum, Bruce Wayne on one end, and Batman on the other. Their mannerisms are not close at all.
Exactly.
Whereas I don't think they're like very close, but like each other iteration is a little bit closer.
Yeah, you're right.
Especially maybe George Clooney's one. Obviously, we said about him not changing his voice.
Difference.
He not only is George Clooney's Bruce Wayne just George Clooney, his Batman is also just George Clooney.
Yeah.
So it's like, you would be suspicious of a man who kind of, even when looking at the mask and then hearing the name, and then hearing his mannerisms and the way he talks, you would just be like, I think that's probably Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, you would, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So I really, and then to contrast that, when he's Batman, it's almost like he's I know he's doing the sort of deeper voice, which, as we said, would become a sort of staple of the series, but he's really quite, it's almost like he's playing a completely different character, like, from his sort of interpretation of Bruce Wayne, and then his Batman, almost like completely different people. You know, he's sort of confident and intimidating. He's the only Batman, I think, who can actually smile and still look really badass. Like
You say that, like, but we did say this during the film. He has like a weird smile, like where he's just like he's just kind of
yeah,
kind of
maybe
awkwardly
he couldn't
grinning.
move in the couldn't move his face in the mask.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking in the latex, in the fucking rubber cowl.
Yeah.
Sorry, honestly,
Yeah.
in the first one, it looks so thick. I don't know how he
But
survived.
I do, but in a way, I thought if I was like a henchman, and even that awkward grin here that he does, I'd still be like, oh shit, this guy's about to
Yeah,
fuck me up.
I mean, he makes that grin. Not to jump to the second movie so quickly, but he makes that grin when he kills someone with
When he
TNT.
straight up murders someone.
He chucks him down a manhole and
Yeah.
just chucks some dynamite
His
in there.
Batman does not give a fuck.
He does not give a
straight
fuck.
up kills people in these films.
I mean,
which I love.
Something that I've heard over time irks many diehard fans.
Yeah, go on.
Is the fact that Tim Burton made the decision to have him to just kill if necessary, kill pretty much at will. It's not even really like, oh, it's life or death for a main character. Like so
Yeah.
he has to kill.
Yeah.
It's like any henchman. It's almost like he's Two-Face, where he just flips a coin. And he's just like, this one's going to die.
Yeah.
That one, I'm just going to do like a little spin. I'm going to just arm whip him. And
knock
he's,
him out,
yeah.
yeah.
Or just like pull him off a bike, Especially in the second one. Again, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like a lot of people were kind of... Again, I'm on the fence, but I'm more just like, it's part of its world, like it's...
Yes.
And it's, part of that kind of dark but goofy, silly Gotham. Do you know what I mean? Like really kind of gritty, but also has like its own art style.
Yeah.
It's all part of that package.
Yeah.
And also Tim Burton quite publicly said he didn't do any research on Batman whatsoever. He was just he didn't read any comics. He was just given like a brief.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And obviously he made a decision to be like, well, I'm going to go in this direction because I think that's what people will want, and that's what he wants to make, and which is fair play to him.
Yeah, but
and it's not a hill that I'm going to die on.
I don't think Keaton gives a shit though.
Yeah, no.
Do you know what I mean?
No.
Like, there's no sort of moral code or anything. So
There is a moral code. It's just stopping injustice.
Yeah.
At all costs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
He's just like, these people are evil. I'm going to stop them. Like, it doesn't really go further than that. It hasn't got much more ethos. Tim Burton wasn't like, I'm going to build... like you said, he's not like, I'm going to build a code for this character. He was more just like, Batman fights crime.
Yeah.
And, sometimes when you're a vigilante, you just go and hammer and tong on some people and they just end up dying.
Yeah. I think...
I don't think it was deeper than that.
No, I don't either. I mean, it never bothered me. I quite enjoy it, if anything. But I'm, morbid. So yeah. I mean... Batman 89. I mean, it's not a perfect film by any means. It has its problems. I do have deep affection for both these films, so I'm trying to be not so like fanboy-y and try and be
just a little bit critical.
Yeah.
A little bit more critical.
Yeah. They aren't perfect films. It's almost like those two films for me are sort of like a halfway point, a sort of mixture of the incredibly goofy campness of the next two, and the very serious darkness of the Nolan trilogy. It's almost like they're those combined.
I feel like it is just a sign. All of these, you say the '60s Batman or '89, and the Batman of the '90s, including the cartoon, all the way up to where we are now. It's just like a changing of the times.
Yeah.
They're all very much a piece of their own time. Like this one being late '80s, early '90s, the start rise of like grunge and like a lot darker art and stuff like that compared to the '80s, like mid '80s. It really was a change of taste in terms of art. Not to get too deep about Batman being art, but and then obviously it is still kind of that. There is room for the fun of like the '60s, and even audiences wanted a little bit of it in their Batman movies. Stuff that you see from like The Mask, where that's like, yes, it's very comedic and cheesy, but it's got like dark tones to it, even as a comedy. That was that part of the late '80s, very late '80s, early '90s. Very much feels like a product of its time, and obviously the Dark Knight trilogy, and obviously even more so with what we're getting now with the Batman. It's all just a product of what narrative is going on behind the scenes, in public choices and public wants in terms of their films and superhero films at that point. Superhero films had been that kind of campy, and this was a turning point of like, we want to take it a little bit more seriously. Also in a very artistic direction. But also we don't forget that there's campiness to a man wearing a rubber suit fighting crime against a man with a completely white face and green hair.
I mean, for me, I think they sort of blend the two quite well. I for me that it really works. It's in parts it's very serious, very gritty. It has a lot of violence and swearing.
A lot more than I thought.
Some scenes could be straight out of a mob movie, like and then the other scenes are like the art museum dance scene.
Yes.
Are
the fact that you said those words to get art museum dance scene.
Are really goofy and could be straight out of Batman and Robin. So but I feel somehow it works. I don't know how. It doesn't seem disjointed to me.
Reason being, I think, this is just my opinion. The reason why I think it works is because Gotham City is not set in the real world. And
especially in these films.
The art style of Gotham City in all of the 90s and Batman 89 is in this Art Deco 1930s mixed with
modern day,
mixed with the 90s, which is such an odd mix.
All the clothes, all the men are wearing hats like they did in the 30s.
Classic gangsters.
You've got like 80s music and ghetto blasters. And stuff. It's you're right. It's almost set in a bubble that's timeless.
It's set in a different world that doesn't exist, but also it's got the same rules as like today, where it's just like gravity's the same, and but it's such a weird artistic mixture that it creates something that's so unique that the rules of this world where you live, you don't really adhere to them in Gotham of Batman 89 and Batman Returns, all the way up to Batman and Robin. But I feel like that's why you can forgive the goofiness. I say forgive, but you can understand its existence in a world that is also so dark.
Plus, in these two films, I quite enjoy it. I quite enjoy some of the goofiness, like the art museum dance scene where they're like vandalizing the paintings with the paint.
Yeah.
To the music of Prince.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that scene.
What's the song? Isn't it like Party Man or something?
Party Man.
Party Man. It's just like
Yeah.
he's like singing about the Joker.
Yeah.
You know, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I know it's not. I don't think
I know,
it's
and
quite like that, but
it's
it's just funny how they just use such an 80s
I know.
song.
Well, apparently this was Tim Burton didn't want like modern pop songs in the film, and
Yeah.
the studio insisted on it. But you know, it's but you know, then again, it's the Joker, and excuse me, and but that reminds me actually, before I forget, obviously we can't not talk about Danny Elfman's score.
I mean, I think we said about iconic superhero themes in the Spider-Man, one of the Spider-Man podcasts, and
This
you
one's
know,
even more iconic.
this one, yeah, is just
I mean, this is up there with John Williams' Superman score for me as the definitive Batman theme.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Hans Zimmer. I do enjoy your music in Batman Begins, but this is the theme. I mean, they used it in the animated series.
yep,
This
they
is
did, yeah.
the Batman theme, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying about how in Returns the score's even better. Like, he elevates his own score,
Which is
to an
mental.
even more like operatic,
Yeah.
grander scale.
There's so many. Obviously, you have the main Batman theme, but in Batman Returns, I feel like my favorite piece of music is the kind of Selena Kyle Catwoman suite,
Yeah,
where it's very reminiscent. More so, I know, because obviously they're both set at Christmas. Not quite sure if I've controversially contradicted myself when I say that, but or they both have Christmas themes with the Nightmare Before Christmas.
yeah,
They're very like, I know it's Danny Elfman, but they are very
Yeah.
close as two
that-
as close
yeah.
as two soundtracks can be, without them being the same piece.
Oh yeah, Danny Elfman has a very distinct style, which you always can recognise.
Of course. But even you know, his we've said this again, but the Spider-Man theme and the Batman theme are very different.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I feel like it was just elevated times by 10 for me, just because of every piece of music is just like surgically made.
Yeah,
Again, my favorite bit is just like how using one instrument for the again the Catwoman theme, I guess, or suite, and it just invokes like quite a lot of imagery, invokes like the journey that she's on,
yeah,
you know, and then obviously throughout it, and then right at the end, not to get right to the end of Batman Returns.
yeah. Well, that was a quick podcast.
You know, 20 minutes in, but you know, that the shot of which they used to do at the end of these Batman movies, which would just have you so hyped to watch the next one, you know. And for Returns, I think is like my favorite, where it has the bat
Yeah.
symbol in the sky,
Yeah,
and it's like Catwoman.
and then as soon as she
Yeah.
appears, it drops into the main thing. Brilliant.
It's you know, I think it's nigh on perfect
Yeah.
for a movie.
Oh, it's beautiful. It should have won. It should have won an Oscar.
Absolutely outrageous.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. But so things I love about '89. I love the style. I think the set design and the art direction is brilliant. I think that did win an Oscar.
Very impressive. And, you know, you can tell why they looked at Beetlejuice and they greenlit this film.
Yes, they did from
Do you know what I mean?
Beetlejuice, yeah.
Like,
Because of the amazing set design.
he was pushing it for years.
Yeah.
And, you know, Warner Brothers were like, you haven't done anything yet. You know, like,
Yes.
you really haven't done too much of note yet. You know, or enough to warrant a 48 or 40 odd $1 million budget, which, you know, quite a lot back in the 80s.
Yeah, very, very much.
Which is understandable. And then, you know, Beetlejuice was great. Is great, sorry. And yeah, I can see why, you know, that Tim, I can't not mention Tim Burton without him mentioning his art style. You know, that not even is not necessarily just him, but it travels around, like that art style just orbits Tim Burton so much.
Yeah.
You know, and it might, you know, I'm under the impression that, you know, he's had a lot of impressions from other artists and just kind of stitched together this style, which is very, you know, it's gothic, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like it's new gothic, basically. I'm not very up to date on my art styles, but it just he nailed an aesthetic one time, and then he just basically built off that.
Yes.
He can build worlds off that because he's just like, well, so take for example, I guess the main example is Beetlejuice, where it has that art style when it goes into like the surreal, and then he's just like, I'm going to apply that to the real world, but what I'm going to do is change one or two things, and that's just going to build on top. Like we said, where it's like mobsters are wearing like 1930s fedoras.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're just like, yeah, that doesn't look out of place in a very like dark and gothic
Not at all.
world that is Gotham City.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of lends it to its name in a way.
Yeah.
But, you know, and then he'll do that for other things where it's just like, yeah, I'm going to make an animation about Halloween and Christmas coming together.
Yeah.
And you're like, what I'm going to change is like the real world is kind of real, but then everything else is an impression of, you know, that style that he has. And then you'll just move on to the next movie and do the same thing, you know. Not all the time, but he, you know, like I'd say, actually no, Edward Scissorhands is exactly like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
So, yeah.
But the style, it's world renowned at this point. If you've ever seen a Tim Burton film, you can recognize it.
Yeah.
Like it, I feel like it's more artistic than, say, the style of Tarantino.
Yeah.
But Tarantino also has a style.
Yes.
And you know, there are so many people who do have a style. Your favorite, Christopher Nolan, also has a style. But you know, this one is like, it's like I don't really know how to describe it other than he takes his own style and then just like, again, it's all turned up to 11. Everything's extreme. Yeah. Whereas with other people's style, say for Tarantino or Nolan, it's like you can recognize a shot even if you haven't really seen the film. You could be like, oh, that looks like this from this other Quentin Tarantino movie. This happens. Oh, you're like, oh, that's like Tarantino's, you know, style of shooting, mise en scène, all that shit. Whereas with Tim Burton, it's instantaneous.
Yes.
It's instantaneous. You can look at any frame from any of his movies.
Yeah.
And I'd say it's probably a little bit more like Wes Anderson. You know, I'm not like the biggest Wes Anderson fan.
Neither am I.
But if I'm watching a trailer,
you can instantly recognise this is a Wes Anderson.
One shot in, I'm like, Wes Anderson film. Okay.
Yeah, you're right. And also,
which is hard. Which is, you know, let's not beat around the bush. It is probably one of the hardest things to do in film.
To achieve your own unique, recognisable.
Hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah.
Since the beginning of cinema, have been trying to do so.
Yeah.
And Tim Burton is one of a handful of people.
You're right.
Who have done it.
And also Tim Burton is the only film director who I would say I would go walk into a place, walk into a building, or I'll be walking through a woods in winter time and be like, oh, it's a bit Tim Burton-esque,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't. Oh, well, I'm glad I don't have that with certain other directors. I'm glad I don't walk through downtown Los Angeles in the 1960s or Hollywood and then just be like, oh, this is very Tarantino. This,
Yeah.
you know, like that
But
doesn't
you
really
don't,
happen.
because with Burton, it's like an aesthetic.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
The style.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't walk through a building.
Oh,
like,
the shots I'm looking
it's
at
very
here.
Steven
Yeah.
Spielberg-y,
Yeah, the shots
warehouse.
I'm looking through the eyes of the
No,
lens
you
of my
wouldn't say
eyes.
that.
No.
You would say that about Tim Burton.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, or you'd watch. You'd see something, or you'd watch something, but you'd be like, oh, looks like something out of a Tim Burton film. That
I mean, that is a compliment in itself, really.
it is. It is. Yeah. So yeah.
It's testament to how much work went into these movies, because that was very early on in that building of like the Tim Burton look. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
You know, it's springboarded off movies before this, but I feel like it really found a mainstream audience of, you know, millions of people directly through these two films.
And I think he delivers two really strong and enjoyable Batman films, which, even though you know, have the Tim Burton stamp on them, you can still sit back and enjoy as just a Batman film.
Yeah.
So yeah, Tim Burton's direction is great. I think Michael Keaton's performance is great. I mean, he's my personal favourite Batman. So I think the supporting cast of a good. Kim Basinger is quite a good character.
I feel like we haven't really at this point in time, I guess, she's a good character.
Yeah.
She's a mixture of like important to the plot and also a love interest.
I mean, I didn't want to say that but she is just a love interest. But I'd
say she's a couple of notches up.
They do
that.
well with that. They don't just make her Bruce's love interest. They make her her own.
Yeah,
person.
I agree. I'll make the comparison. So the comparison between Kim Basinger's character, Vicky Vale, I'll say, and Nicole Kidman's Dr. Chase Meridian,
who is literally just there to look hot
and to swoon over Batman,
try and have sex with Batman,
and that's the thing. Like, at least
and then get kidnapped at the end.
At least Vicky Vale, she is you know, she's interesting, like where she's like when she's with is it Elliot Knox?
Yeah,
Elliot Knox, isn't it?
Knox.
Who's you know actually a really good character, which is a shame that he's not in the rest as like another recurring character like Commissioner Gordon.
Yes.
You know, when they're together and, you know, they are basically trying to work out whether there's a man dressed as a bat fighting crime. It's okay for her to be a good character, because it's like, yeah, you would have someone who's like desperate to have their photograph be like the first photographs of like this vigilante. Do you know what I mean? So and them working together, you know, their dynamic's quite funny.
Yeah.
And then, you know, at least she also likes Bruce Wayne.
Yes, exactly.
Another comparison to Chase Meridian.
There's a love story there between her and Bruce. Yeah, I know. So it's not just that she's there because to be you know, for like with Bond, let's say it's like Bond, she's just there for him to sleep with, kind of thing. But yeah, she has a blossoming romance with Bruce, but she's also investigating Batman. at the same time, and then also becomes the target of the Joker's affection. So they do weave her into the plot,
Yeah.
make her an intricate part of the plot,
Yeah, exactly.
and she delivers a good, memorable performance.
Yeah, sorry, with her, it's just like at least she likes Bruce Wayne,
Yeah,
and not just like I need to know like who Batman is.
Yeah.
It's more just like with Chase, it was like she is in love with Batman because I don't know, she was a psychologist. I don't know, she was just like had a bit of a thing. I don't know.
She's got bat issues.
She's got bat issues, whereas Vicky Vale's character was
a journalist.
and then like interested in Bruce Wayne,
Yeah.
after meeting him a few times.
Yeah. So like I said, I've got a lot of love for this movie. But as I said, it's not perfect. It does have some faults. The plot is a bit I mean it's thin, I would say.
Yes.
I mean, it's not like, there are some Batman films where I think the plot's too convoluted, but this film, the plot's a bit thin. I mean, Joker doesn't really have a sort of a main objective or like an end game. I know the in the finale his plan is to just gas everybody, but I don't really know what his ultimate gain is. Like his goal,
Yeah.
like he laces the beauty products with poison or whatever for no real reason other than just to kill people. And then obviously at the end, I know he's like, and then he sort of discovers Vicky Vale and he's like in love with her. But again, it's not. I don't know.
It is very thin.
It is thin, isn't it? It would almost be better if it was more simpler. Like rather than him wanting to sort of gas at everyone, he's just so obsessed with Vicky that he's like, plans to sort of kidnap her and then disfigure her or something. And
I feel like the plan should have just been like, the Joker's obsessed, he must be stopped.
Yeah.
Like it should have just been that simple.
Or he's going to like specifically murder, Commissioner Gordon or Harvey Dent.
Yeah.
Like
which would have made sense.
Yeah. So it is odd. And my other criticism is, and this is controversial, but I don't think Jack Nicholson's performance as Joker is as good as I remember it.
Yeah, I mean,
when we rewatched it yesterday, there were bits of it I thought were like amusing, but he wasn't as menacing as I remember. Obviously as a kid, and there were some elements of his performance where I thought that's very Cesar Romero.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah,
it's almost it does feel like it's Jack Nicholson doing his best Cesar Romero impression. I mean, I really enjoy his performance, and he has some great lines. Like you wouldn't hit a man with glasses, would you?
Yeah, maybe.
And
Classic.
when he's like, Bruce is like, oh, let me tell you about this guy Jack, mean kid, hurt people. He goes, I like him already.
Yeah,
he has some great lines, and I love the bit where he's doing that. He's talking to that skeleton that he's just electrocuted.
Yeah,
and he's like, what are you saying? Grease them all? God, you are a psychopath, But he's I don't know.
I feel for me it was outbalanced by like some bits that I was just like, oh, that's kind of cringy. It's kind of like not that's not funny, or it's not like cool, or it's not scary. So it's, where is it?
You're right. Like the bit when he's in that really dingy like bathroom, and the plastic surgeon he rips off his bandages and he starts laughing. That bit's really creepy and dark.
Exactly.
But then there are other scenes where he's like, dancing around and laughing, I think too much, a bit too much, and he's he's just being, you're right, it's very up and down, isn't it?
Yeah.
There are some moments where he's it's genuinely kind of creepy and
scary. I'm okay with the flip-flopping between comedy and seriousness. because that's part of the character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in every iteration,
Yeah.
maybe except for Heath, because even with Heath, there's lines.
Yeah.
There's lines where you're just like, that's unhinged, but it's also quite funny.
Well, with Heath though, even the moments
There's a
that
consistency there, though.
are supposed to be goofy, like when he's dressed up as the nurse,
Yes.
it's still kind of creepy.
Yes.
And intimidating.
Yeah, but with this, there is a lack of consistency.
Yeah.
Which is, I know that's something that you wouldn't necessarily have with the Joker, but every other iteration, whether it be good or bad, I'm looking
Yeah.
at you, Jared, for bad, but there is some consistency. Whereas this, there's quite a little bit of cringe.
Some scenes, it's like he's like Jack he can't be bothered to be there.
Oh, 100%.
And then there are other scenes where it seems like he's really getting.
He's in there.
And it's like, do you know what the good example of this is, right? His first scene as the Joker, when he comes out of the elevator,
Yeah.
at Grisham's office, and he walks in silhouette with the hat on and the gun, and you just see, all you see is like his face, but it's like lit in shadow, and you can see the smile, but you can't really see anything else, and he's just standing there with the gun. He's like, "You sold me out for a woman." That bit's really creepy and menacing.
Yeah.
But then, as soon as he takes his hat off and shoots Grissom, they suddenly start playing that like circus
music, yeah.
and he's like, and he's like
Shooting from behind, under legs. Yeah.
And that's the example. The start of that scene was really menacing and threatening, and by the end of the scene, you're just like, it's just,
They played it for laughs.
yeah,
You know,
they played it, yeah.
I think, again, I think just like it is a bit of a product of its time.
Of its time, yeah.
And, you know,
And maybe that's what people wanted. You
Yeah.
know? They wanted Cesar Romero, and maybe because Keaton's Batman was so dark and serious, they thought, well, we need the Joker.
yeah,
to
need
be
to offshoot it.
lighten
Yeah.
up a bit. And I do get that, but in a film that's a 15,
Yes.
features a lot of blood and swearing and sexual references and Batman straight up killing people, it seems a bit odd that you've got this sort of 1960s esque Joker.
So you've got the mentality of just like a clown criminal
Yeah.
in the body, and you know, the aesthetic of someone who's like a psychopath.
Yeah.
And it's like, it is a weird mashup that
It is weird.
only really comes off in certain scenes. You know, there's a few scenes where I was just like, Jack's phoning it in, and I'm just like, oh, cool, okay. I'm sure they'll jam a joke in there. You know, complain a lot about the MCU when nothing's serious, and that's a valid criticism.
Yeah.
But with the same thing happens here,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, can't anyone just take itself a little seriously?
Yeah,
that doesn't mean there can't be comedy.
I think it would have. I just feel like it would have worked, because when he's just Jack Napier and not the Joker, he doesn't play it for laughs at all.
Not at all.
He's very serious.
Yeah.
He's just, and I feel like when he transforms to the Joker, it's like, you know, all that prancing around and laughing, it just sort of comes out of nowhere.
It does come out of nowhere.
Like that before. And I understand that he fell in the vat of acid, but that just transformed him sort of physically.
Maybe it did it mentally as well.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe it made him mad, but they don't really make that clear.
No.
But I think it would have been a much more menacing and compelling performance if even after his transformation, he was still the serious Jack Nicholson sort of mobster.
This was the time for the kind of serious, especially it being a 15.
Yeah.
You know, being some kind of like quite serious themes in it. It was the time for it to be like, we're gonna take Batman like quite seriously, as serious as the Dark Knight trilogy tries to take it seriously. But you know, again, there can be comedy in these movies.
Yeah, of course.
It just has to come at the right time. Whereas I feel like this, I don't know if Burton
and the
was
right time are those scenes with Keaton as Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
When he's being with Knox.
Yeah.
We've already got some light relief.
Yeah.
With the Joker, we want to see him, you know.
Yeah.
we want to see the way Heath Ledger did it, and I have to admit, Heath Ledger's Joker is far superior to Nicholson's. I also don't think Heath Ledger's Joker would have been out of place in this film.
No, not at all.
Because the rest, other than Jack Nicholson's performance, the rest of this film's pretty takes itself pretty seriously.
Yeah.
It's apart from the obviously dancing to Prince and that, and those silly adverts.
Those
it's a pretty dark film.
Yeah, those bits though. Again, I don't know if Burton was a screenwriter on this particular film. No, it wasn't. But they do feel like they were straight out of Beetlejuice.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
Jack Nicholson's, clown performances, part of his clown persona, was more like Michael Keaton's Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
So it's like in the wrong movie.
Yeah. Mike Keaton would have made a good Joker.
Yeah, would have been great.
Yeah.
Whereas Jack Nicholson, I don't think would have made a great Batman.
No.
I am Batman. I can't see it. I'm a Batman. So you're here to see Bruce Wayne? Well, I'm the Batman. Yeah. No, that would have been terrible.
No, but it's it's.
What's
the Batmobile's awesome.
Oh well, yeah.
My favourite Batmobile.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very stiff and rigid, but it looks so cool.
And also, I had a tiny little toy of it.
Same.
So
yeah, I had all the figures.
So 1-0 Batman 1989.
Yeah,
over anything else.
Several nil to me, in my opinion.
But they, Batmobile's great.
Yeah.
Does he use the plane?
He uses the plane in this film. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Batplane.
The Batplane.
Which again doesn't look. I think that looked quite cool.
It does look cool.
It wasn't like 1960s. Quick to the Batplane. It was
just like it was
cool. He's got a plane.
All right, it's in the symbol of a bat, but also bats can fly, so it makes sense.
Exactly.
They did think quite logically about that,
and I really like the finale. Actually, I know we were saying about
honestly, that's one of the funniest
about
bits.
The plot being a bit thin.
Yeah,
but I really like the simplicity of the finale with the cathedral.
Honestly, some of the we were talking about the architecture, but some of the architecture in Gotham is just like
this cathedral.
This cathedral's about 80 fucking.
It's the size of like the Empire State Building. Yet they climb.
They fucking walk it up it.
Stairs.
I was saying to Harry how just like it because it keeps cutting from the Joker and Vicky Vale going up this up the cathedral. God, if I was Batman, or even if I was the Joker, I'd just keep cutting back, and I'd just be out of breath, spitting over the edge, trying to get my breath back. Sorry, I can't.
Screw it.
I literally would have just pushed you off.
Do you know what?
Honestly, it's ridiculously large, isn't it? Like it's not as bad. It's not as
they're falling later. They're falling for
for ages.
How long are they falling for?
It's not as egregious as I think in like Batman Forever or Batman and Robin. Like they even make the architecture even friggin' larger, and it's just like that's just ridiculous. But it's all part of the aesthetic for the movie, which is cool.
It's atmospheric though.
Yeah.
Also, we were laughing about these. If you haven't seen Batman in a while, go back and watch it, right? And when you get to the end, ask yourself this: where do those henchmen come from?
So we've been watching Batman chase the Joker up this infinitely large cathedral. Just those two and Batman. It keeps cutting back and forth for quite a long time because they keep just going up, and it's like they just kind of like cut and paste it again. But they get to the top and they're all alone because there's no one up there. Then the bells are ringing, obviously, and as soon as Batman gets there, some unnamed goons just come out of nowhere.
some like karate chopping.
Hard hitting brawler goons.
Yeah, I mean, my theory was that they were already there because the because I think the Joker says on the radio, get the helicopter to pick me up from the
roof.
from the roof of the tower. So they must have just already been up there waiting for the helicopter. However, that's me filling in my own blanks. That's not explained in the film. They just appear out of nowhere.
Honestly, it would have been. Honestly, they should have done that in the church. That would have been fine, and then had the chase up to the top.
Yeah,
and then
the fight
just
at the bottom.
Yeah, and then just had this, and then just had this, you know, Batman Joker face off at the top. It breaks it up, and you're just like, it was supposed to be just them two. You know, it was supposed to be like, oh, you're chasing the Joker, and then these unnamed goons.
I
come
do
out
really
nowhere.
like
It's a good fight.
the face off between Joker and Batman.
Oh yeah.
And I quite like as well. And again, I know this is another thing that upsets the diehard fans. I quite like that they made Jack Napier the person who murdered his parents.
Oh yeah, I like that as well.
Again, it's in this its own universe.
Yeah.
And in this universe, the Joker killed Thomas and Martha Wayne. And
at least they didn't go 2 movies more and
then
shoehorn him in.
retcon it, yeah.
Like a certain man made of sand in another franchise of comic book movies.
Exactly.
Holy shit.
I really like that, and I like how Batman confronts him with like, says like, "You killed my parents," and also another thing I didn't notice is I don't know why, but I only noticed it for the first time when we rewatched it last night. During that exchange of dialogue, it's quite subtle, so it's easy to miss. But Batman says to him, "I'm going to kill you."
Yeah.
And I was like, I've never noticed that before.
I know.
I think he says it, I think like Jack, because I think Jack's like sprouting off a load of stuff like, oh, I was a young guy, I don't remember, and about just like, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa.
Yep.
He's going to straight up murder him.
Also, something that we turned to each other and said was when Batman's got Jack hanging over the vat of acid.
Yeah.
There's like a little, there's just the tiniest look that's just like, I should just fucking drop him.
Because he looks like he's trying to pull him up.
Yeah.
And then there's a bit where I think...
like his glove is slipping.
Yeah, and I think like Jack turns and looks up for a moment. And you see like this wide-eyed look of recognition.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like he lets go. Or does he? It's like, did what's his face shoot first?
Did Han shoot first?
In Empire...
This one...
Star Wars. This is... Did Batman
honestly, if it's a direction, if it's a bit of direction from Tim Burton, it's genius.
Yeah.
But if it's not, if it's just like accidental, it also kind of works.
Yeah, well, I mean, and also he does. Joker does say at the end, he says, "What is it?
You made me.
You made me."
Yeah.
And then Batman says, "You killed my parents.
You made me first.
You made me first."
Yeah.
They made each other. I like that.
Yeah, well, the whole thing is that they're intrinsically linked like that, you know.
Yeah.
And it also you know works as, you know, the Joker is always going to be the yin to Batman's yang.
Yeah.
And for them to do it in a way where not only did Jack kill Batman's parents, but also Batman, controversially, may have dropped him.
Yeah.
/ all right, maybe it was like he was trying to save him.
Did he? Another thing as well was, did he deliberately? You know, he shoots the bat rope thing around the gargoyle.
Yeah.
And then it gets attached to
His leg. Yeah.
Did he do that on purpose as well, knowing that the weight of the gargoyle would make
Maybe
would pull Joker down to his death?
that's why it's more interesting to have Batman be like, "I'm just gonna kill him."
I like it. It's like he's morally ambiguous.
He is very morally ambiguous.
And it's like, wow, he lives by his own rules and he does not give a fuck. So
Although it is a little bit contradictory when it gets to the next movie, where Selena Kyle says, "We live by our own rules," and he says "No, we don't."
He said, "Who the hell do you think you are?"
Yeah. So basically, he's just like, "Yeah, I live by my own rules, but not you.
Yeah.
It's a little bit contradictory. But anyway, that's
Well, I don't know. Maybe because he thinks at that point she hasn't revealed to him that she's Catwoman, or he has, and so he thinks that she's just gonna murder Max Schreck in cold blood, at gunpoint.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe in his mind, when he's Batman and it's a life or death situation,
it's a bit of a different choice.
It's a different choice.
Yeah, fair enough.
But that was a nice segue into Batman Returns.
Into maybe the better of the two.
I think it is.
And I do too.
I remember you said last night, controversially, I think but Returns is better, and I went, so do I.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of the I know we've actually covered quite a few, but it is a topic of discussion. But it is another example of, I think the sequel is better than the original.
Yeah, I agree.
Just for certain things we have already said, like the music being better.
Yeah.
I think it's probably a bigger budget, so
Yeah.
you know, the aesthetic and
I feel like Tim Burton had more free reign on this one. To do because it's so much more Tim Burton-esque.
Yes.
That rather than sort of a big budget studio flick with touches of Burton. This one is so Burton. It's dripping, it's oozing with Burton's.
This one had
juice.
almost double the budget as well, which is, you know,
double the budget, double the villains, double the stakes, double the film, in my opinion. Yeah, this. I mean, look, I know it's weird. Returns gets a lot of stick, and I don't understand why. Because it's my favourite Batman film. I think it's great. I mean, it's just. I think Danny DeVito's Penguin is a better villain than Jack Nicholson's Joker.
Yeah.
He's brilliant. I feel like has the right balance of sort of silliness and like genuine, like frightening.
Oh yeah. He tries to bite a guy's nose off. Like,
yeah.
I know you might be like, well, Jack Nicholson actually fried someone alive, but that's all like very comedic and like there's like a skeleton there like that's fried.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of it.
It's a shame because I think this was responsible for Burton and Keaton not coming back for forever because I don't know what I think parents were outraged by just how much darker and more violent this film was.
Was this a 15 as well?
But yeah, it was a 15 as well. But I think the problem was that Warner Brothers did this Happy Meal tie-in with McDonald's. And so the argument was the parents complained about it and they were like, well, the studio were like, well, this is a 15 certificate or it's rated R.
Yeah.
But then they were like, yeah, but you're advertising Batman toys
to
on
kids.
the telly to kids. And you're releasing Happy Meal toys to coincide with the release of the movie.
Quite ballsy move, if I do say so.
And
they're still like, we're still going to get those kids nagging their parents' money, but they can't go see the film.
So but no, this film's great, and I think Keaton's even better in this film.
Oh yeah,
his Bruce Wayne is more he humanizes him a bit more in this film.
Yeah.
He's a bit more jokey. He's a bit more.
I don't think he's as goofy as in.
No, he's not. He's less socially awkward. In this film.
In this one he's a little bit more confident, but still quite grounded.
Yes.
He's still got a Bruce Wayne about him, especially when one bit I absolutely liked, which I would love to do to someone in a meeting, is if they're at one end of the table. To me, is to just chuck something at them. He has his report on like Max Schreck's dealings, you know, because he's making a power plant for some reason in this movie, and because the table is a circle, so it's like you couldn't put it down, and like he literally just chucks it at Christopher Walken's head. which I absolutely love. It's such a power move.
Yeah. And then all the while, like he's like, I'm going to fight you on this, and the mayor's on my side.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he's very
So ballsy. But yeah, he's got a real good mix. Bruce Wayne down from like just being a normal guy, billionaire though.
Yeah.
But also confident and
and his bat suit's much better in this film.
Yeah,
It's more
like we said, it's more body armor.
Yeah, it's you can tell he can move around a lot easier.
Yeah.
He's not so stiff in this film.
Not in the neck though, that's
the
obviously...
neck is still like where he's wearing a neck brace. But I'm just saying his general movement, his fighting style's not quite so.
It's a little bit quicker,
erratic. Yeah. It's more focused in this film.
Yeah, well, it has to be because he's fighting opposite someone who is. I know, obviously, that comes with its own challenges, but is in full PVC.
Yeah.
So I think that's a little bit more flexible as well.
I think I really like, but I have to say though, for me, this film absolutely stolen by Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh yeah.
She is brilliant. I mean, her performance is brilliant. I mean, her
she's still got those. I think more so in this one than the previous.
Yeah.
She does have that that incarnation that really opened the door for the cheesy one-liners.
Yeah.
There were some.
Oh yeah. Of course.
There were some obviously in Batman.
Yeah.
But in this one, again, because in every aspect it's dialed up, it means that there's obviously cat puns.
Obviously.
But there's also puns that have nothing to do with cats that are turned into cat puns. That's just insane. You know, like some of the lines I just have to chuckle because they're just...
But it works in this film.
Oh yeah,
it's
of
not
course.
like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh no,
being like, what killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age.
That has no relevance. Whereas what she's talking about, she might say something that's very puntastic, but it is kind of pertaining to her situation or something that she's monologuing.
She is fantastic in this film.
Yeah,
she goes from the sort of awkward assist secretary put upon secretary who's sort of timid and shy and down on her luck and a bit geeky, and to then being the sort of like zombie, almost like a zombie.
Yeah,
that scene where she's like comes home and she's all like she's just acting a bit crazy, and then she goes crazy and makes the costume. I mean, that her acting in that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And then,
especially as she has nothing else to kind of bounce off.
Yeah, and then
it's just all her.
And then she becomes this really cool, confident Selena, and like reborn Selena. And that's just as Selena. We haven't even got onto her performance as Catwoman.
Yes.
Oh
yeah, her as Selena Kyle. After that, she obviously, I think she transitions very well because it's not one scene. She's one person, the next scene she's the complete opposite.
No.
That confidence that you talked about.
There's a journey there.
Happens all the way up till the very moment she finds out that Bruce is Batman.
Yeah.
Because it goes like she is or pretty much murdered. I know this is one thing we said about the Jack Nicholson psychologically turning into the Joker. Psychologically, she turned into Catwoman by being bit on the finger by a ginger Tom, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, that bit makes absolutely no sense to me.
She has like loads. The cats don't even really. They just walk around her and like over her and
nibble at her fingers a bit, and that somehow brings her back to life
and turns her into a cat pun spewing.
Yeah, I don't really get that. That makes absolutely no sense, but...
also going to let it go, because it's such a great film.
Yeah, again, it doesn't bother me. I don't know...
But then the main point is that once that happens, yes, she's bewildered and she's having a psychological break, and then you do see it over time, because the next scene, she's got like bloodshot eyes and she's like still a bit like wiry.
Yep.
And then next scene that she's looks far like she reveals she's like come back to life XYZ to Max Shrek, and then the next one she looks fine, and she's like got more self-confidence, and then the last scene where she's just Selena Kyle is when she's like she looks great, and they're at that ball, and she's very confident at that point. So it is something that usually in a comic book film, it'll go 100 miles an hour to get to that character to where they need to be for the rest of the movie. Do you know what I mean? Like, it happens in every comic book film, really. Unless, there's a bit up to the midpoint of the film where they need the transition to last that long. But this really lasted until the last third of the movie. And, again, like you said, she steals every scene she's in, and she makes the movie.
It's so... And I love the subtleties of her performance. Like, I don't know if you notice, but her costume gets progressively more
like rips, I guess. Yeah.
And like even in some of the early scenes, after her first sort of night out, if you will, as Catwoman, some of her stitchings come undone.
Yeah.
And her costume gets progressively more sort of tatty and worn and ripped until the end. All those little subtle little things like that are just brilliant. And I mean, she's fantastic. I mean, obviously, obviously she looks incredible.
I mean, that bit, the bit that had me chuckle was just like, you didn't need to have her say it. But where she's like standing in the window, and it's like basically like a silhouette where it's just like shadow, and you can see the light from her apartment.
Yeah,
and it's just like, I don't know about you, but I feel a lot more sexy. And I'm just like, for God's sake.
I enjoyed that.
Well, you literally don't. The thing is, you don't need to say it, because if you just had a shot like that, you're like, bloody hell, she looks great.
Well, I mean, it's nowhere near as bad as some of the things that Penguin comes out with.
Yeah, I know.
He is an absolute randy horn dog in this film, isn't he?
Yeah, mate. Honestly,
absolutely on a mission.
Danny DeVito is just perfect.
I'd like to fill her void.
Oh, it's just the lines that are coming out of his mouth, and some of them are so really subtly randy, aren't they?
Some of them are not. Just, isn't there a line? One line he says to Catwoman about a pussy or something?
Yeah, I think it's just like, you're the pussy I wanted to see today, or like, I'm just like, fucking hell, man.
Although that's it. He comes in and she's lying on the bed. He's like, just the pussy I wanted.
Just the pussy I wanted to see. Yeah. Oh my God, like, can't say that, man. Like, so funny. It's funny though. Like, it's just like, he's just not holding back being an absolute horn dog. And Danny DeVito, he plays disgusting so well. He just knows just everything.
That's it.
And the fact that in most scenes he'll start the scene, he'll look like the Penguin, but he's okay. Like, he's just, quote unquote normal.
Yeah.
And then as the scene goes on, he's just he's like
dribbling,
oozing out of his mouth,
eating a raw fish.
Yeah, and then just like he'll just like progressively look worse over the course of one scene, and then it will cut to like another scene, and then you'll go back to him in his weird loft underneath a really trendy office, which is such a weird
just goes
vibe.
Down a spiral staircase, and he's suddenly
it's like a 90s
really
office,
well-lit modern office.
Yeah, but above is like being in Tim Burton's mind.
A dingy attic room.
Yeah,
with the notorious Red Circle gang that are like wanted by the police, just cocked in. Yeah,
just chilling up there.
Christopher Walken is so Christopher Walken-y in this film. Oh my God,
I can't.
Batman.
Yeah, this film with its adjacent cast. I know they're main actors as well, but it's just so star-studded, and each one is so on form.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with Christopher Walken, he is 110% Christopher Walken.
I mean, considering he is playing against Danny DeVito as the Penguin, Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman,
Yeah.
and Michael Keaton as Batman, and he's just playing some random dude.
Yeah. He doesn't get lost in the
Proper
shuffle.
holds his own
Yeah, lovely. It's great.
because he's Christopher Walken.
And he plays evil so well. Just like malaised evil, where it's just like they just don't give a fuck.
I mean, he's sort of the real villain of the film.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
he's like a corrupt businessman.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, he corrupts. I know Oswald had his own intentions.
Yeah.
But he still corrupts him even more and uses him for his own game.
For his own game, yeah, absolutely.
That's even worse.
And he straight up murders Selena.
Yes. Yeah.
And we also learned that he like murdered his business partner.
Yep.
And then
flushed him down the toilet.
At one
apparently.
point, he says to his son, "If she tries to blackmail us, I'll push her out a higher window."
Yeah.
So he obviously doesn't care.
No, yeah.
about his son knowing that he murdered.
There was no reaction from the son either, was there?
Also, I have to say, Christopher Walken delivers, without a doubt, my favourite line in any Batman film, and that is at the end when Selena and Bruce take their masks off, and they're both sort of having a moment, and Chris Walker just goes, "Selena Kyle, you're fired." She's just tried to murder him, and he's just found out she's Catwoman, and yet he's still sacking her.
Yeah.
And then he goes, "And Bruce Wayne, why are you dressed up like Batman?"
He is Batman, you moron. I'll probably add that in, you know.
Add that quote in because that is such a great quote. Why are you dressed up like Batman? Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, for him not to get lost in the shuffle of those big names is kind of testament to him and his kind of presence, you know, what he brings to the table.
I do think it's a shame that apparently the plan was that the Max Schreck character was supposed to be Billy D. Williams' Harvey Dent. And the idea was that in Returns, at the end, when Catwoman electrocutes herself and him, that's what causes him
Interesting.
to...
But would it have been evil?
Well, this is the thing. I think the reason they didn't do that is because
they couldn't work it out.
Because the character was too evil.
Yeah.
And Harvey Dent wasn't supposed to be evil.
He was a really good guy in the first
However,
one.
I do think that would have been a really good idea and a really good cliffhanger for the next film.
I know.
So I do think in a way, but then maybe it would have been, I don't know, if what would have been great is if Christopher Walken had played Harvey Dent. Maybe in the first film, and then in Returns he becomes corrupted, and then
we had Christopher Walken
as Two-Face in Batman Forever. And that would have been directed by Tim Burton with Keaton as Batman
and Jim Carrey
as the Riddler. Now that would have been a great film.
Yeah,
a
film that we didn't get, but with the film that we did get, this one again is Returns is just, it's everything you wanted from a sequel to the initial, and it still has some flaws.
Issues, I feel
it's
not as thin as the first film.
No, but it has some flaws that are reminiscent of like the first movie.
Yeah.
So it's like the same flaws are there, but because of the performances, because of you know how the plot has a little bit more to it that actually you can be like, okay, that makes sense.
I like the Mayor plot.
Yeah.
I like the Penguin and Catwoman team up, not to kill Batman, but to discredit him. I like that stuff, and I also like, despite the fact that it's very fucking dark, I really like the Penguin's plot to kidnap all the firstborn sons of Gotham's elite, who were like his parents, and drown them. I mean, it's really fucking
dark as shit.
It's like something out of Seven.
It is,
but I really like that. The thing that lets it down for me is the Penguin army with the rocket strapped to their.
There was one bit where I genuinely had to question whether I'd missed something out.
Yeah.
Where like it had gone wrong, and I was just like, so why have they got rockets on their backs?
Yeah.
I'm like, why have you set loose like 1,000 penguins?
To destroy Gotham, maybe?
Yeah, I was just like, I was like, I missed something here, but I don't think we did. Don't think we did.
No, I think it. Well, that's obviously that was. I'm guessing that was his plan B.
Right.
Because his plan
okay,
A was to murder the children.
Yeah.
And his plan B, I guess, was if I can't do that,
Destroy-
I'm going to
destroy them.
destroy everyone and everything. But yeah, the penguin. I mean,
Honestly, the bit where that happens, where there's like loads of penguins, was straight out of Beetlejuice.
oh, 100%.
And the bit that got me, where I was just like, I don't think you really needed that, is where 6 penguins carry. Well, I say carry. They kind of shuffle Danny DeVito's corpse into the water.
6 midgets in penguin suits.
Like their
possession.
Yeah, like they're pallbearers, where they're where you'd have 6 people holding up a coffin.
Yeah.
That is where they use their flippers to flip him into the water.
Yeah, it is. Oh no, it's a bit. It would have been
Very
I guess,
Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I could have done completely without the whole penguins rockets thing. I mean, it could have had he could have actually had the gang round up the kids, bring them to the layer, and then Batman has to literally stop them from being thrown in the water.
Yeah, we've seen them have he's got the manpower.
Yeah,
even though I don't know where half of them are hiding, because there was only about 12 of them who were hiding in the loft. But
then with the penguins thing, maybe if they just come out and just sort of surrounded his body and were just sort of looking at it,
and
that would have been a bit less silly.
See, I thought I hadn't kind of seen that bit coming, because I guess I just blocked it out. But there's a shot where after that where it's Danny DeVito's body's in the water, I think, and their penguins are just like on the side looking.
Yeah.
It's so sinister.
That's a great shot. And you see the blood coming out of his mouth as he sinks.
They should have just had that. They should have just had him fall into the water. And then the penguins who are there, because he's in a lair with penguins.
That was a good shot.
Should have just been evil, or just maniacally.
Almost, or just sort of recognizing
that he's dead.
Yeah.
That would have been much better.
Yeah, absolutely. Because obviously they're animals. Animals do feel.
Yes.
They do grieve.
Yes.
That would have been. That would have been better.
And don't ruin it by having one of them just shed one single tear. No.
Oh, God,
I'm just saying that if it had come from the mind of Burton, he still would have had the 6 people in penguin suits. He would have just had one of them just have one single fake tear roll down their cheek.
Yeah.
So let's scrap that idea. Let's just have them watch him be dead, and just be like
that ending. Oh, I mean, it's epic. It's absolutely epic. I love it.
Yeah, same.
It's so.
I said that my 2 favourite shots of the
blockbuster,
the film, is the initial part where the bat symbol shines in the sky.
Oh yeah.
And then they use mirrors to shine it inside his house, which is got no lights on. And then he when he realizes, he gets up. That's
an iconic shot.
Iconic shot. Yeah. And then the best shot of the film is the last shot.
Absolutely.
Where the bat symbol, again, I said it already, but the bat symbol, and then you just see Catwoman's head appear.
Oh, I love that.
It's
absolutely love that. Apparently that cost $250,000.
What did?
That shot.
Well, the last one.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because apparently they added it in at the last minute because they wanted to potentially leave it open for a Catwoman spin-off.
So I did see that there was going to be a spin-off.
Yeah. So that was that, and it's not even Michelle Pfeiffer; it's just a body double.
Oh yeah,
and apparently it cost to come back and do that.
Wow.
It cost them $250,000.
Wow.
But it was
well
worth it because what an ending.
Yeah, I know, well worth it.
When you first see that, you're like, oh,
she's going to be in the next one. Yeah.
I mean, I think she only loses 8 of her 9 lives up until that point.
She does, yeah.
So that it does make sense.
Yep.
Oh, it's just a brilliant ending. I love it when he sits in the car with the cat and
the music starts.
And he's driving off, and then the camera tracks up to the bat signal, and you're like, oh, the bat signal, that's cool. And then all of a sudden, her head pops up. You're like, oh, Catwoman, oh. Yep. And then the music kicks in.
Yep.
Oh.
Also,
Buzzing.
set at Christmas, so unfortunately, well, next time when we do an even more top 5 Christmas movies,
Yeah.
expect Batman Returns to
I
be high
considered
up on that
putting that
list.
on my list.
Oh, did you? I didn't.
But yeah.
But now I will.
For me, well, it's more of a comic book film than a Christmas film for me.
Wow.
But yeah. But no, listen, guys, go back and watch Batman Returns. It's not as bad as you might remember, or you might read about.
Or the internet might have you believe.
It's a really fucking good Batman film, and it's my personal favourite, and everyone's great in it. Michelle Pfeiffer in particular is fantastic, you know. I mean, this was 1992. Talk about, you know, girl power and feminism, doing it for the girls. I mean, she absolutely holds her own and kicks ass.
And like we said, is just the show stealer.
Absolutely. So I highly recommend you go back. I mean, you know, I would, if you want, skip 89, just watch Returns on its own, because you can watch it on its own.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It doesn't really follow on much from the one.
Like Spider-Man, the origins are not really needed.
No.
I'm not sure if they'll do it for the Batman, but
I really like, yeah.
I don't mind if they do or they don't at this point, but it is something now, Batman, in popular culture, that you don't really need the origins.
No.
You know, it's pretty much well known. Yeah, you know.
No,
it's just kind of like a story that's been told so much that you've heard about it. You've heard about why Batman dresses as a bat. His parents were killed.
Yeah.
Like, he has a fear of bats.
I like that. I like that they don't explore that in these films. We don't know anything about Bruce's early life and how he went from being Bruce Wayne the boy to Batman. But it's
touched upon later on, isn't it? In Forever.
Well, yeah,
but only a tiny bit. We're not doing those films anyway, so
they're not canon as far as I'm concerned. This is the Tim Burton verse.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Not the Joel Schumacher verse.
Yeah.
But yeah, so ratings.
Yeah. So the bigger question is, what are we going to do it out of for Batman 89 and Batman Returns?
Well, I mean, Returns. It's got to be like penguins with rockets strapped to their backs.
Lovely.
For 89. Art museum. Dancing to Prince.
Yeah, just
art museum dance.
Art museum pop dance
Party
numbers.
Men. Party man.
Yeah, out of Party Men's. Or no,
no.
Out of museum dancing to pop music.
Out of
5 just out of 5 dances to Prince.
Dances to Prince.
Yeah.
Well, what about 5 Bobs?
Bobs.
You're my number one, a guy. No, I like it. Art museum. Bob Gunn. Thanks, Bob. 5 art museum Prince. Dancing to Prince.
Is there anything else?
What's kind of good? What does he do? Love that Joker. Those adverts pretty goofy, aren't they?
Out of yeah, love that joke.
Or the balloon parade thing, also to Prince.
Yep, Prince. Prince balloon.
I guess it's balloons.
Just Prince parades.
Yeah, Prince parades or random henchmen appearing out of nowhere. There's a lot to go on.
There's a lot to go on. Yeah,
I feel like
just when you reveal yours, you just do yours, and I'll just do mine.
All right, fuck it.
Controversially, might do it out of 2 different things for once. So,
that's a first.
That is a first.
Yeah.
Okay, Batman 1989.
I'm gonna do mine out of Devils in the Pale Moonlight.
Okay.
Right, so I give Batman 89 a very generous, and I know this is generous, and I admit this is partly because I've got like nostalgia goggles on, but I'm going to give Batman 89 4 Devils in the Pale Moonlight out of 5.
I mean, that's not like really egregious. Like, I don't think that, you know, I feel like a lot of people would say quite similar ratings. You know, especially people our age.
Yeah.
Would probably be even with the film of nostalgia on the top of it.
Yeah.
Would probably give it maybe around a similar rating. So, you know, that's not. I don't think that's. I don't think that's particularly. I don't think you're particularly sugarcoating it and raising it up for nostalgia's sake. I don't think. But I'm gonna go with 3.5. White men shouldn't dance to Prince.
Fair.
Out of 5. Again, it is a classic. Which, you know, you might think, oh, it's a classic, but you're giving it a 3.5. It's a bit ridiculous. But I do have to just kind of dial it back just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because there are certain bits that just really haven't held up. But there is so much to love in there that I couldn't give it anything less. I think that'd be really, really harsh of me to do so. But yeah, it started a trend of like the new way to look at comic book films that we kind of owe like quite a lot to it. So
Absolutely.
it's also something that if I was to give it any lower, it would be like, well, it was groundbreaking for the time.
Yeah.
You know, like you can judge it on its past merits today. You know, but comparing it to certain things today and the tastes of today as well is probably why I've marked it down a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think I've gone fair.
I think so, yeah.
What and now we go for Batman Returns.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you go first again.
Well, for me, Batman Returns is a very solid and respectable 4.5 penguins with emperor penguins with rockets strapped to their backs. And this isn't this isn't me being generous or having, you know, sort of nostalgia. I think Returns is a really, really great Batman film, and it's my personal favourite. And I think there isn't a weak link in the film in terms of like performances and characters. I think Returns is really great, and I think it's, in my personal opinion, I know this is controversial, but I think Returns is one of, if not the best Batman film ever.
I also give it 4.5 emperor penguins with red and white stripes, rockets strapped to its back. Yeah, it's. I feel like the only thing that really lets it down from being a 5, which is something I'll mention, is just some of the script sometimes can just be even. I shouldn't say it for a comic book movie because this movie is a 15, but for a comic book movie, you know, of this time period, before we got, you know, kind of more serious MCU and definitely more serious Dark Knight trilogy, it's like, I know it's for kids as well, so it's really hard for me to be like critical about the script being a bit too cringy, because I'm like, it is for kids even though they made it a 15. But there's just certain aspects, less so in this, a lot less so in this than 89, that I'm just like, boy, that's bad. You know, like, boy, that's some bad screenwriting. You could have done a lot better with that scene or that line or that exchange. That being said, the rest is just fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm going hard in. I've given it a 4.5 because all of the other things that we've said are just like, it's a joy to watch. You know, the characters are built upon, but you didn't necessarily have to have come in having watched 89. It's a shame we didn't get more Keaton. I know we're technically going to get more, but
I was gonna mention that.
I don't know about that. I'll say this about.
Neither do I. I'm on the fence about it because we've been waiting so long
Yeah.
for this because I've been saying for years Keaton should do another Batman film, but as an older retired Bruce Wayne. That would be great. Isn't there like already a graphic novel about an older Bruce Wayne?
I feel like there's a few comics.
He's like in his 60s or something.
Oh yeah, there's definitely one. Yeah, there's definitely one.
And it's like we're finally getting that, and it's as a supporting character in a Flash film.
Yeah.
He should be in his own movie. It's Michael Keaton.
Yeah. It's Batman.
It's Batman, yeah. And he's just going to randomly pop up in a Flash film, but I'm guessing that it's a multiverse and the Flash is going into the Burton verse. So it might be interesting to see the Burton verse again, and maybe we'll get a spin-off film from it.
See,
who knows?
I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks. I don't know if you've been in the podcast or that I've said it, but we do just have to accept the death of like your favorite franchises.
Oh no.
You know, like it's okay for you to just like have the movies that were great and then not have any more of it. So,
I know.
And that's how I feel about this, especially when I saw it. When I saw that Keaton would be reprising his role in The Flash, I was a little bit like, I don't want
this.
Yeah, I don't want The Flash to start off with. You know,
and I don't want to see Keaton
as a secondary role.
Yeah, in this film, I want to see Keaton back in his own film.
Yeah, but let's not let what potentially can happen take away from what has already happened, because it's just both great movies, and Returns is just, like I said, rightfully one of the upper echelon of Batman movies.
Yeah, and you know, but you know, who knows? Very soon we might be we might be sitting here saying, you know, the Batman's even better.
Yeah,
and you know, and Robert Pattinson's great and all that.
That's a crazy thought, and I know it's probably not good to lead into like early reviews because, you know, your fingers might get burnt like The Last Jedi, but it is quite promising to see majority of reviews say that it's really good. You know, there's nothing worse than your hype being kind of shot in the leg by.
Well, we'll have to see what the audience scores are.
Yeah, that's true.
The critics reviews
are always a little bit off key.
Are not trustworthy at all, in my opinion. So, like on IMDb, I never read the critic reviews. I only read the user reviews. Because the user reviews really tell you whether this film's good or rubbish.
Yeah. Which is weird because you should be like, oh, someone being paid to be critical.
You should be able to trust them. That's their job.
But you should be like, oh,
but they get paid by the studios. They get paid by the people who are marketing the film. It's all corrupt bullshit. But but you know, but we may very well. I'm keeping an open mind because the thing about the Batman films is time and time again I've been dismissive and I've been proven wrong. Obviously, there was the case of Michael Keaton, although I wasn't a part of that. But there was backlash against him.
Yes,
and he turned out to be brilliant. And then 2008, we had Heath Ledger cast as the Joker. Everyone thought, oh, who's this? You know, this is going to be bad. He turns out to be phenomenal. And then similarly, in my personal opinion, the same things were said about Ben Affleck. Oh, he's going to be rubbish. You know, it's Ben Affleck. He can't. And he was great. Yeah, he was a great Batman. So I'm keeping an open mind. I'm not dismissing. Rob, and I'm not.
And also, Robert Pattinson is someone who has proven people wrong with his acting skills.
He was
over the past decade.
Best thing in Tenet, which I really hated, but he was great in that. Yeah. So you know, hats off to him.
I since maybe 2000 and maybe 12, 13, maybe even 14. I don't think I've seen him in a bad film since. Yeah. Which is why when I heard he was being casts as Batman.
Yeah.
Little bit worried about maybe Bruce Wayne's side of things.
Yeah.
But
As
you know,
Batman.
yeah, as Batman,
Yeah.
it's probably going to be an enjoyable ride.
But for now, until we see the film,
Yeah.
there's only one Batman.